Hey friends, it's Sarah from She's Crafty and She Knows It, and today I'm going to show you how I made these super cute Motel Resin keychains. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so I have the epoxy resin right here that we're going to be using. It's part A and part B, and so you just do equal parts of both part A and part B, and then you stir it together for 5 minutes. So you want to stir it slowly by starting in the middle of the cup and then slowly widening the area that you're stirring. It is really important to stir slowly and for 5 minutes. I know it feels like a really long time, but it's important to get things really stirred and mixed well together. So I'm just going to be pouring it into these 2 cups, part A in 1 cup, and then part B in another cup, equal amounts in each cup. I'm just going to be eyeballing it, and then I'm going to pour them together into 1 cup and mix it up. Of course, whenever you're working with resin, it's really important to work in a well-ventilated area, wear a face respirator, gloves, and eye protection. And of course, I always cover my work surface as well, just to protect it from any drops of resin or anything like that. Like always, I'll link all the supplies I'm using, including the resin and my favorite face respirator, in the description below this video. Okay, so now we're just gonna pour a thin layer of resin into the keychain mold. You don't need to do too much, just enough for the alphabet beads and the sprinkles to sit in. I'm gonna go ahead and use a toothpick to kind of move the resin around the little hole at the top of the keychain where the key ring will go later. So just kind of use a toothpick to move the resin where you need it to go. Now I'm going to use my heat gun to pop the bubbles in the resin. You can use a lighter to do this, but it's really easy to kind of melt the sides of the mold. And so I definitely recommend using a heat gun over a lighter. Okay, so I've already placed my alphabet beads the way that I want them on a second mold. The set that I bought actually comes with 2 keychain molds, and so I kind of just like to have them set out perfectly the way that I want them. So I'm going to go ahead and just use a pair of tweezers to kind of move the alphabet beads from the empty mold over to the mold that has the resin in it. Now the alphabet beads are going to want to move around because the resin is not really set up at all and it's very thin. So you're going to have to kind of keep using the tweezers or a toothpick to kind of move the letters to where they need to be. Once I have the letters all where they're supposed to go, I'm going to add a little bit of sprinkles. Now this part of the process can seem kind of tedious, and it just takes a lot of patience and time because, like I said, everything is kind of moving freely in the resin. So you just want to keep using your toothpick or tweezers to keep putting things back where they need to go as the resin is starting to firm up and kind of set. This process doesn't take too long, but during this like 10 to 15 minutes when things are really moving around a lot, it can seem just kind of tiring because you have to keep on making things go where they need to go. You're kind of nudging them back into the right place. But before too long, the resin will start to kind of thicken up and set up, and things will stay where they're supposed to be. Now, as you see bubbles kind of rising to the surface in the resin, go ahead and continue to use your heat gun to pop the bubbles. If there are bubbles that seem to be below the surface, you can use your toothpick to kind of move the bubbles up to the surface of the resin and then use your heat gun to pop them once they're on the top level of the resin. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and pour a thin layer of resin in the other keychain mold so that I can make another keychain. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and move the alphabet beads over and put them where they need to go and add the sprinkles. And just like I did with the first one, I'm going to have to keep on kind of moving things back to where they need to go to get them to stay in the right place. As I'm doing this, I'll continue to check the first keychain as well to make sure that those alphabet beads are kind of staying in the right place. This part feels a lot like babysitting, but I promise it doesn't last forever. So just don't be discouraged or intimidated by this part of the process. Now, the good thing about it is that since the resin takes a while to set up, things really are fixable and movable for a little bit of time. And so the upside to that is that even though it can be a tiring process to get things to stay where you want them to go, it also means that you have plenty of time to fix errors and rearrange things if needed. Okay, so it's been 24 hours and now we're going to pour another thin layer of resin. This is just a new small batch of resin that I've mixed up. You don't need very much because at this point there's not even very much room in the mold to pour a thick layer of resin. So it's just going to be a very thin layer that's just going to cover the top of the alphabet beads to make it have a really clear, smooth top surface. Since it's such a thin layer of resin, I'm going to kind of use a tongue depressor to move the resin around to make sure it gets in all the little nooks and crannies of the mold, especially behind that top little area that's making the hole where the key ring's going to go. So make sure that the resin is kind of spread out completely across the whole surface so you don't have any areas that are missing this top layer. Then I'm just going to use my heat gun to go ahead and pop any bubbles in this top thin layer of resin. Okay, it's been about 48 hours since I poured that top thin layer of resin. I could have taken these out of the mold at 24 hours, but because of our crazy schedule, I just wasn't able to get to it until now. But like I've said in other resin videos, every brand of resin typically comes with an instruction manual. It will tell you how quickly that specific resin sets up and is able to be taken out of the mold. So just make sure that you're looking at the instruction booklet that comes with your specific brand of resin. Okay, so now this is how the front looks, but since it's just clear resin, when you flip it over, this is how it looks on the back of the keychain. And so since the letters are backwards, it looks like this. It reads Club Mom's Tired, which obviously we don't want it to look like this. So we're gonna put a thin layer of opaque resin over this part, the back side, to cover it up. Now I'm gonna take this one out of the mold as well. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use this resin tape. It looks like this, and I'm gonna kind of try to wrap it around the keychain. You see how everything is upside down and backwards on the back side? We're gonna wrap it so that the tape kind of holds it in so that I can pour another layer of resin without messing up the shape of the keychain. So you're just gonna wrap this tape all the way around the keychain. So this tape is actually really cool. It kind of creates a mold so that the resin can't bleed over the edges. I know it's kind of hard to tell what I'm doing, but you're really just kind of using the tape to secure the border of the keychain shape, if that makes sense. I'm gonna go ahead and cut it off on this side. You want it to be really tight on here, so just kind of press it really hard into the side of the keychain as you're going. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and kind of trim this tape down on the side that's gonna be sitting on the table. That way it can sit flat on the table. Now it's important that it sits flat and flush to the table. That way when we pour this last layer of resin, the resin is level in all the places. If it's kind of like wobbly and there's tape holding it up and it's leaning to one side, you're gonna have the resin be thicker on one side of the keychain versus the other. So go ahead and trim that side down. You're trimming the side that reads correctly. So you want the front to have no tape that's kind of sticking up. The front side is going to be the side that's sitting down on the table. And then the incorrect side that reads wrong is going to face up at you. And that's where we're going to be pouring the opaque resin to cover it up. I hope that makes sense. Now we have the circle as well. I'm going to try and roll it up really teeny tiny. Okay, the idea is you're going to pull it through. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and cut off the back side. Okay. Okay, this lets it pretty much sit flat. Okay, now we're gonna do the other one really quick. Okay, so once again, this is the side that I want to be up. I can trim off the side that's the correct side. So the side that reads correctly, you don't need the tape to be on. So I'm gonna go ahead and I got some smaller scissors to make it easier to trim down. So this way the side is trimmed down and you can lay it flat down on this side. Okay, push it really good. Okay. I'm gonna roll up another little piece like I did last time. It's gonna go in the hole to kind of hold it. I try to make one side a little bit smaller than the other so that way I can put the small side in first and just pull it through until it really is too tight to pull through. So that way I know it's filling up the hole. So pull it through till it can't pull through. I started with the small side through. I will for sure have to use tweezers to get that out afterwards. Okay. Cut it down as much as you can. Okay, so since adding more clear resin is obviously not going to help because you'll still be able to read what it says, I'm gonna mix a little bit of white resin with a little bit of color. And so I'm gonna be using this white resin paste, just a tiny drop. You wanna use like less than 1% of your total resin mix can be this paste, otherwise it won't really cure all the way. So I mean, one tiny drop goes a long way. So one tiny drop of this and a little bit of fuchsia alcohol ink and kind of mix up an opaque pink and then put it on the back. Okay, y'all, I'm so sorry. I did not realize until it was too late that my phone had died and it did not record me pouring the pink opaque resin into the little mold that we made using the resin tape. But it really is as easy as it seems. You're just gonna pour a really thin layer and I used a toothpick to kind of get the resin to go around that area where the keyring hole is, the area where we made that little rolled up piece of resin tape and stuck it in there. So use the toothpick, just like we've done before, to get the resin to go in all the places where it needs to go. Now, the most important thing to remember is that when you're doing the tape, you want to make sure that part on the table is cut really close to the surface of the resin so that it sits flat, so that this opaque resin can be level and look really good. Okay, so here we are 2 days later, and as you can see, the pink opaque resin has darkened a lot. It's really pretty. I love the pink that it turned into. Now I'm going to go ahead and peel this tape right off the keychains to show you how they look. You can go ahead and pull that little rolled piece out of the hole where the key ring is going to go. Now once you have the tape off of the keychains, you can use some super fine sandpaper to kind of sand down any edges that feel a little bit sharp or just not as smooth as you'd like them to be. Now all we're going to do now is add the key rings and the clasp, and they're going to be good to go. Okay, so I have my whole keychain set right here of different split rings and clasp. I'm going to go ahead and open it up. These are all gold. I'm not going to use the biggest size. I'm going to use the next size down, which is like this. I'm going to use my finger to kind of split it open. And then I have some little jewelry pliers that I'm going to slide in there to kind of open it all the way. And then I'm going to be doing it at the end right here where there's less resin to kind of get around. A little bit hard to finagle, but you're going to kind of put it in the hole just to get it going, and then you're just going to keep rotating it. Now when it starts coming out the back, I like to go ahead while it's open and slide the clasp on so you don't have to try and finagle it open again. And so I'm going to go ahead and put one of the little lobster clasps on and then keep spinning it until it's all the way on like this. So now we have our little keychain. Now, there are these kind of like other split rings like this that come in various sizes. I even have, let me show you. So they're kind of like this and they're just split open. I have a big one and it has a little slat in it. My fingernail got totally destroyed doing that clasp. And you can open these and put this. So if you would rather do something like this through the keychain resin part like this and then put this onto a keychain split ring, you could do that if that makes sense. The reason I'm not doing this is pretty heavy and I don't want it to fall and break or anything. And so these are just kind of split where you split it. Let me show you. These just function like this where you can kind of twist it. So you do kind of risk it getting twisted and yanked and the keychain falling off that way versus like this where it's really on there very sturdy. To get it off, you would have to pull it apart and unthread it through the keychain. So it's pretty sturdy. So that's the reason I'm using this kind of split ring directly through the circle, if that makes sense, just in case you had questions about that. So I'm gonna go ahead and do the next one real quick. I have these two little split rings I'm gonna use to attach the tassels. And for the tassels, I have these really cute little 3-tiered, a pink one and a yellow tassel. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put the yellow one over here and the pink one over here. And so I'm just going to use my jewelry pliers. You just kind of hold it, you slide the tassel through the loop like this. Now with this one, since the way we set it up with the key ring, if I put it right here, it's really going to hang and block the front of the keychain. And so on this one, when I have the big key ring kind of going through the circle, instead of using that extra loop like we talked about, I like to actually put it up here on the lobster clasp part. And it hangs better. So let me kind of show you. So you're just going to use your jewelry pliers to close it. You just kind of rub the pieces together until they touch. You can kind of hear them making a snapping noise. So that way, when you hold it up, it kind of hangs to the side of the keychain like this. So let me lay it flat so I can kind of show you. So if I didn't do it that way and I hung it on a loop on the key ring, it would really just hang right in front of the words of the keychain, or it would flip to the back and hang on the back side. This way it kind of hangs on the side, which I think looks a lot cuter. Let me go ahead and do the pink one. Slide it right through the ring of the tassel. And slide it through the lobster clasp part. And push them together. Just like that. Okay, we have two really cute resin keychains. This is how it looks from the side with the pink in the back. So the back is completely opaque pink, and on the side you can see the level the layer of pink versus the clear with all the beads and stuff in there. And then from the front. Okay, friends, so that's it. That's how I made my super cute Motel Resin keychains. Like always, I have all the supplies I use linked in the description below this video. If you like this video, please give it a big thumbs up and make sure you subscribe for more videos. Bye!
She's crafty and she knows it. She's crafty and she knows it. She's crafty and she knows. She's crafty and she knows it.